Support for Tags Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TAGSPOD, TAGSPOD, at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls. What is going on? You are listening to Tags Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, celebrating 6 years of sex positive podcasting. I am your host, Stevie, and this is episode 441. Happy to be joined by Lincoln. How you doing, Lincoln?
Hey, Steve. Hey, Kodi. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Really good. And like you mentioned, also joining us is Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing well, darling. You know, having a beautiful day here today, Monday, and Tuesday when the show comes out.
I love it.
Absolutely. I know. I am in Fort Lauderdale. I just wrapped up a really fun week of the Vacaya Cruise line that went to the Caribbean, and so much fun on this cruise. Really, the people, I think, is what made it, meaning so many people from around the world, or at least the States. And shout out actually to Rocco, who listens to us on the big island of Hawaii. Really cool that he met me and then said, wait a minute, aren't you have the podcast? I listened to it. I was like, oh my God. So I hung out with him and his boyfriend, Curtis. They were so much fun. And I got their contact info, had a great time.
Nice.
Really
I love it
fun.
when that happens. It's fun.
And you know, we were on their inaugural cruise, Lincoln, back a few years ago. They actually, their red light district, everyone listening, they have a red light district. They've made it better than ever before.
I saw photos of it. It's quite elaborate now.
Yeah, it was tight. They had in the corners of the smaller half-court basketball court that was raised up, it was produced by Just for Fans, which was really cool. And in everyone's room, you could watch Just for Fans on demand for free, which was kind of cool to put it on when getting changed for the next costume party. And you could go to the red light district, which was really cool. Shout out to Anthony, who won Best Sex Podcast. He beat us, by the way, but I got to meet him and hang out with him.
Did you push him off the boat so that we
win? No.
It's humor. Calm down.
It's a joke. Yeah.
I pushed up against his dick is what I did do.
So you almost pushed him off the boat.
Yes, exactly. And
you rubbed it for a little good luck.
I did, and I liked what came out of it. Absolutely, genie in a bottle, lots of fun. Oh my gosh, it was really. Everyone was really respectful, and it was very sex positive. I'll share a little bit more on this episode because it's going to relate to some of the topics coming up. But really fun notes for some listeners that were around in the 80s. The special guest, Lincoln, was Sheena Easton.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And she was so good. I was so excited that when I got my program, it said Sheena Easton. And I I was a huge Sheena Easton fan. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. She sang all of her hits. She was hilarious. She was self-deprecating. She said she was an 80s chick. She said, oh my gosh, when I was, she just was really fun. She got the vibe of the gay cruise. The gays were all about Sheena Easton, and her voice still sounds great. So
that's all that matters.
Yeah. And the other special guest that I was equally excited about was Taylor Dane, who turned it out.
Gay gasp.
Yes. I loved me some Taylor Dane. We used to play her on the radio station, KBLX Radio, back in the day, her first album. Loved it back then. Love her still today. She was a trooper because she was supposed to perform on a big dance party outside, but the winds were so strong that they had to move the party inside into the foyer, and Taylor was still supposed to perform, but she did it in the theater, and she was performing to tracks, but she ran around the audience saying hi to everybody, gay banter. I mean, she really like made it work, and even did extra songs that she wasn't supposed to do, which I thought was really
That's
great. She was
amazing.
just so much fun. She looks amazing, by the way. She's
Oh, yeah?
in 60 and looks amazing. So does
Nice.
Sheena Easton at 63. So I'm like, okay,
Yes.
60
Get it,
is the new
girls.
40.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of ages, we have to talk about, there's so many topics on the show that are sex positive that I can't wait to get to, but I had to talk about this one. I do watch CNN, and I missed it this week, but Don Lemon, who's gay, had to apologize for remarks he made about women's age, and the backlash continues on. He essentially said, he was essentially talking about Governor Nikki Haley, who's going to be running for president in 2024. And she has this new ad out about, basically, she's talking against Trump. Like, we need a whole new, younger era, not a 76-year-old president. Of course, she means Joe Biden, who's going to be 80.
Mhm.
And she said, we need this new generation. Well, on his CNN morning show that he shares with Caitlin Collins and Poppy Harlow, which I actually watch in the morning sometimes, he said that Nikki Haley, I don't know what she's talking about. She's early 50s. She's not in her prime. And he went on, he doubled down and said, sorry, when a woman is in their prime, they're in their 20s, 30s, and maybe 40s. Well, as you can imagine, that shocked the co-host, Poppy Harlow, who's
It's shocking me.
41. Yeah, she said, oh, great, I guess I got another decade, according to your rules. And then she went on to say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Hillary, like, what standards? Hillary Clinton was 69. Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House up until 82. Kamala Harris is 58. And by the way, Don Lemon is 56. So people are accusing him, I actually agree, very misogynistic. I don't know what he's talking about. In speaking about the two women I saw, Sheena Easton and Taylor Dane, 60s, I think, what are you talking about? Anyways, the backlash continues. I just think, really, Don? Well, I mean, to me, and the last thing I'll say about it, too, is as a 52-year-old, I feel more in my sexual prime right now. I feel like with the show, I've tried a lot of things throughout the years, some successes, some not. I finally found my groove in the direction I'm going. And it's like in my 50s. So to me, this is my prime. Lincoln, what are your thoughts when you hear about what Don Lemon said about women, and you're only in your prime in your 20s, 30s, and maybe 40s?
Well, I think Don Lemon is a little bit of a mess. Didn't he get so drunk at New Year's that he missed the ball drop for
for Anderson Cooper?
Anderson Cooper did the East Coast ball drop, and he was supposed to do the West Coast, but he got so drunk that he missed when it was 12 o'clock.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then he's saying things. At least I believe that's what happened, because I read about it the next day. I do not watch Don Lemon anymore. I do not watch CNN that much anymore, unless there's a political thing happening like the State of the Union. I think he should shut his mouth. I think it's inappropriate, and I think it's ridiculous. And I think he should watch the Nancy Pelosi documentary on HBO Max that shows how brilliant people can be in their 80s, much like Joe Biden at the State of the Union was brilliant. And with all of the misinformation and bullshit that's on other news stations, why would he even say something like that? It's like all the Madonna bashing from the Grammys. Everyone shut up. Just because we have the freedom of speech doesn't mean you can go around saying hateful things about other people. It's not your place. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting, Kodi, because he kept doubling down, and he said, yeah, just Google it. He kept telling the co-host, Google it. And they're like Google what?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Like, if he's talking about childbearing years for
That's what they
a
said
woman
to
being
him.
in her prime, then you're off topic.
Yeah.
Right.
Nikki Haley is going to run the government, not give birth to a baby.
And
So,
Janet
like,
Jackson
It's
had a
just
baby at 50.
ridiculous
oh
to
my God, it's
conflate
so
the two.
stupid. Yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Kodi? My
It
God.
just shows what Don Lemon knows about women, which is not a lot actually. And from
Yeah.
from what I know about women, they come into their sexual prime a little bit later than men. From what I know, from what I've heard, I'm not really sure. I'm not a woman, so I don't know. Ladies, if you could tell me, educate a bitch. But yeah, so I think that it is something that should be taken into account as far as their vitality and things of that nature. And I also think that you shouldn't. It just goes to show that we as gay men are not we are not we're still capable of misogyny even though we're gay men, and we need to be extra careful about it, even though those are our sisters, and we have an affinity for women. We can still be very misogynistic, and I think that we need to watch ourselves.
Absolutely. Well stated.
I also have to
Okay.
say, I think it's real. I know we'll get off the subject, I promise, but I just think it's really unfortunate that things like what Charles Santos, what's that lying
George Santos.
person,
Yeah.
George Santos. I think it's just sad that gay guys are kind of putting their foot in their mouth lately. Like people
Mm,
that could have an opportunity to be a good, different gay voice are being told or being, shut down because of their own stupidity. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or their own not. And I mean, like if Don Lemon wants to have a couple drinks with a few friends and say women are out of their prime in their 40s, fine. But to
Right.
do that on air, you know what I mean? To lie
Exactly.
and lie and lie and lie and actually get elected and keep lying and have someone like, oh my God, what the guy said to him, go home, you don't belong here. Did you hear that? Did you guys
who
hear
said
this?
that?
So it was at the State of the Union, and the Romney, thank you, Government Romney turned to him and he's like, "Why are you lying? You don't belong here. You
Yeah.
don't belong in
Oh.
this room." You know,
Which I
and
loved. Yeah.
which I loved, but then George Santos turned around and said, "As a gay man, I've been told I don't belong in a room before."
Oh
And
Oh
to
my
sit in the
god.
back, and
God.
I'm like, no, what are you
It has nothing to
doing
do
now?
Now
with
you're
that.
It has
using your
nothing to do
gayness.
with
Yeah.
that, and now you're using your gayness again. So again,
When you're
just
off topic is like what
yeah,
you're
you just
absolutely
stop.
right. Don't equate something that has nothing to do with what the topic at
Yeah,
hand is.
It's because you're a
yeah,
Absolutely.
liar, sir.
yeah,
Miss
yeah.
Katara.
Yes.
Get into it.
Did you guys see that joke about him saying that he was one of the dancers at the Rihanna Super Bowl? It's
Oh
hysterical.
my
It is so
God.
I don't know where it was, but someone made the joke that like this is Rihanna and blah 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 blah, and here's where Jason Santos was. It was very funny. Anyway, sorry.
I love it. Okay, moving on. We have to talk about a couple things. I just want to let everyone know there was a Florida man who essentially used Grindr to kidnap and rob gays. He's convicted. He's quoted as saying, "I hate gay people. They should be punished." After all the murders over the last decade, he used Grindr. We talk about these things. I want to actually. I'm glad that they caught him. The thing
Mhm.
that I'm really excited about living in New York is actually telling gay men to turn off facial recognition on your phone. And that's due
Oh.
to the two deaths of Julio Ramirez and John Umberger, who died suspiciously in 2022 after leaving bars in Hell's Kitchen, and they were drugged. That investigation is still ongoing, so they still haven't caught them. We talked about another story recently where guys were coming out of the New York Eagle Bar and also were lured into a car and were also drugged, and they haven't caught those guys either. But what New York is essentially warning in a recent meeting, which I love, is to the one thing you can do is turn off that facial recognition feature. The other thing that they stated too is also be vigilant about your
Mhm.
surroundings, which sounds so easy and a simple one, but I also think that that's a really good one. We talked about that on the show.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to live in New York City because I always think that we step up to the plate from a city government point. We look out for, there's another thing you can look on if you go to the New York government website, newyork.gov, that they are also ensuring if you are a victim of any of these crimes that we've got your back, that you let us know. We want to know more about these types of things, and so that the investigation continues. I mean,
amazing.
Lincoln, when you hear this and just the simple thing of turn off your the face recognition, how does that sit with you as at least one thing that our city is doing?
I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. It annoys me that then every time you go to your phone to use facial recognition, you remember that you turned it off because someone out there hates gays and might be trying to kill you. It's like all the outdoor seating from the pandemic. It's like a constant reminder that we went through this really hard time, and I don't love it. I mean, I understand it because it's smart, I guess. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, of the hundreds and hundreds of gay boys that are going in and out of gay bars throughout New York City and throughout the country, per capita, not a lot are being drugged and killed. It's horrible, and it's a warning that we should be careful and smart. And if you are out a lot, sure, do it. But that reminder, we talked a lot during the pandemic about quality of life, right?
Right.
Like our quality of life is being threatened. And now all these things are also feeling like a threat to our quality of life.
Right.
That was a lot, but it was what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
That's
I know.
where I am with
Kodi, when you hear that, what are your thoughts about, as a tool to, one more thing that you can do to kind of remind yourself?
I think it's good that people are out there and thinking of these things and letting us know what we can do to protect ourselves. Yes, it's statistically it's not happening. It's happening to a very small number of people, but it's still happening to people, and we need to have people be cognizant of what's going on out there. And if turning off your facial recognition is something that you can do to protect yourself, then I say do it. I'm going to start doing it. And I
you
think
know what?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to just say that
you just
also
made me think. Do it.
Finish with that.
Something that we could also do is I make sure that when I leave the bar, or if I go to a bar, then I leave with someone. It's my boyfriend 90% of the time, but that I leave with someone. So I think that's also a very good tip as well. What were we going to say, Lincoln?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Maybe if it is only when you go out that you turn off your facial recognition, then that is a reminder all night. Yeah, that's kind of a reminder all night of, oh, that's right, it's off because I need to be more conscious. So I didn't think of it that way. I thought of that doing it all the time. But if you do it when you go out, you're like, oh, that's right. That's why I'm a little bit more on alert. So I retract what I said before. But if you turn it off all the time, I don't.
It's interesting, too. I mean, I've talked to some of my girlfriends, too, that are, when they walk around, they're single, living by themselves. And one girlfriend in particular, and she says, depending on the time period, she's had periods where she is a little bit more vigilant when she's walking down a certain street, even in safe cities or so-called safe cities like New York. I was with her one time, and there was a guy like just lurking around us and kind of following us. And we both turned around and basically said, like, what are you doing? And he turned around and walked away. So there was something of this lurking, and I was with her, like, on the side. So, we all kind of have to just put this armor. This is just one tool. I do like that I live in a city that's at least trying to remind us of some certain things. Everyone wants everyone to have fun, but you just got to, keep some of these things in mind. Okay, moving on to a fun topic. Apparently, the average penis size has grown 24% in the last 30 years. So, which I'm very happy about, I mind you. Studies,
I bet
studies
you are.
Yeah, I am. As a size queen, yes. Studies of men from around the world show that the length of the erect penis has grown 24% over the last 30 years. The only downside in this study is that they're worried about male fertility because sperm count has decreased. The other thing that has changed is testosterone levels, which we talk about that on our show a lot. Knowing, we have a great sponsor out there right now, Roman, and you can go to our website or look at show notes to get your testosterone checked if you're in between your doctor visits. But apparently penile length has grown, and the person writing this story from Straight Up Gay Porn did a little bit of math, and they said if erect penises are 5.5 inches now, 24% increase erect 24% difference from 30 years ago would have been 4.4 inches. And if fertility is the only downside to penises getting bigger, it's not really that big of an issue for gay men, other than if we want to have babies with surrogates. And I kind of agree with that.
Me too. Go to the world because it's overpopulated.
Yeah. You had a thought. I was talking to you earlier, Kodi, and you were saying something about gay men and length of penises. What?
So I did my own research, and it wasn't a sample study. I didn't just go around looking at different gay men's penises, unfortunately. But I did some reading, and gay men's penises are on average larger than straight men's penises. I'm not quite sure, but what the statistics are on that. But from every article that I've read, they are a little bit larger. It says here that gay men average 6.32 inches and straight men average 5.99 inches. But that's, you know what? I think they're just reading their Grindr profile. So I don't know if we can trust that, honestly.
Yeah, it's so funny. On this cruise, I had a guy walking by me at one of the pool parties, tea parties, and started to call out my length and girth. And he was looking right at me, and he says, "Oh, my size." And I was like, "Are you talking to me?" And he said, "Yes, that's what I've been calling you." And the guy, this is the guy I was telling you about.
Can I pause you for 1 second, baby? How did he know? Did he have a ruler? What was going on?
I think he did his own mental math, and I was apparently this size. I was naked on this cruise so much. I learned so much about my comfortability of being naked and having my dick out like all the time, except at dinner.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I love that.
I don't know. It's again
that was Peter and I's biggest regret after the last cruise we took, is we found the daytime gay naked layout area too late during the cruise.
Got it.
We always knew it was there, but we didn't go until 2 days before the cruise was over, and we were like, wait, why didn't we come here every day? We just found our groove there. We were kind of left alone, and it was nice, and it felt like a vacation, not talking and chatting and up and down and drinking, and you know what I mean? So I'm all for that. Whenever you go on a gay cruise, check out the naked area day one. It's very relaxed.
Cool.
I love it. I love it. Hey guys, your buddy Steve V here, and Valentine's Day is vastly approaching, and you've heard me talk about the guy that I've gone on 3 dates, about to go on a 4th date, and I'm really looking forward to Valentine's Day. I've never been into the holiday that much, but this particular year with this guy, I am. We both love good food. We're going to go to a restaurant, and then we're going to come back at night and continue the party together and make it happen. I'm very excited about this, and to tell you more about what goes on. Valentine's Day can cause a lot of anxiety for so many of us. Believe me, I get it. It's supposed to be like the sexiest day of the year, but I ask you this question. Are you ready? I mean, Roman ready for sex. Intimacy is so important for all of us. I can speak for myself with this new partner that when you are connected with somebody, you have better sex. And better sex means better happiness. Am I right? Roman is here for you because they address a variety of sexual health needs for us. us men here. Roman offers genuine medication that can help achieve and maintain a strong erection. Roman also offers discreet wipes that help you last up to 4 times longer in bed. And we talk so much about knowing your testosterone levels here at Tags Podcast. Roman can help you treat low testosterone and help revive your sex drive. Roman has testosterone testing and treatment. The best thing about Roman is everything is online. You don't have to wait in long lines. There's no hassle. Roman sends everything to you right to your door with free shipping. And get this, it's in discreet packaging. So to get ready, and I mean Roman ready for better sex this Valentine's Day, go to ro.co/tags today to get 20% off your entire first order. Do it by February 8th for guaranteed shipping in time. That's ro.co/tags. TAGS. Okay. This next story I'm so excited to talk about that I will post this on TAGSPodcast.com because it's based on a new book that's coming out. And they pose the question, is gay sex our superpower? And the editors of this new anthology are talking really about PrEP and promiscuity and the rise of things like Cialis and Viagra. And in the book, they essentially are, so they're talking about those things, and it's a discussion. One of the things they say is PrEP and pills for erectile dysfunction and HIV positive men who take antiretroviral medication that make them undetectable are kind of our superpowers now because it's taken the shame away of sex. And many of us gay men, essentially, they say, I didn't have any education about our sexuality. And if we did learn anything about our sexuality, it was heteronormative sex and just the basics of it. Many of us, like I just said a second ago, grew up with so much shame around sex. Yeah. And so it's definitely a perspective, and I want to get this anthology, a post HIV period of how we look at sex today, sex and shame. Like I said, post AIDS with PrEP. And then, of course, how we hook up these days through apps and things of that same. Slut shaming, they say, still persists, even though the way we find our sexual partners has changed enormously. And they talk about cruising in bars and on the streets, although I still like a good cruising moment. But I really think it is kind of our superpower. I mean, I'm on PrEP. It took me a minute to get comfortable with it. I really experienced my sex positivity and my freedom to be a sexual being on this cruise. And I can't believe I just kind of came to this, idea of it all. I mean, Lincoln, what are your thoughts about sex, gay sex being our superpower?
I like that as a concept because I do think there is a superpower in how liberated we become after so many years of, being in the closet, having it be a secret. So I'm all for it. I definitely agree with that. I also think some people are really pushing the limits of their superpower. It's not always the healthiest of not judging it, just, are people really taking care of themselves when they have, 13 loads in their ass? I don't know. Maybe. But I get it. It's hot. I'm not doubting that. That was never in question. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not judging it. I just, I just still want people to be smart. But no, I get it. I get the superpower and the self-confidence. I think that's what it is. That when you get comfortable with your own sexuality, no matter what your sexual orientation is, that is a superpower.
Right. Yes. And I do agree with you too. At times there can be periods where you might be more using your superpowers than at other times. Obviously, I was on a cruise and I was using them a lot. I will continue to monitor my health and see all of that. I mean, in a related story in Philadelphia, they're now going to be offering free condoms, and anybody can get them on a daily basis. You can get up to 10 in different sizes. And really, it's an effort to reduce STIs that not only are they seeing in the county of this particular county in Philadelphia, but across the country. And obviously, when you're having a lot of sex without condoms, you are going to see a rise. They're seeing rises in chlamydia, also in gonorrhea. And Kodi, you were saying too, and I want to hear your opinion on superpower, but you were also saying offline earlier that there's certain drugs, penicillins, that are showing resistance to the strains of gonorrhea that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's really, really scary because the more that people are getting STIs around the world and things of that nature, it's strengthening the strain of gonorrhea. So just be careful out there, you guys. And I recommend using condoms. I know I personally don't really like using condoms, but if you don't have a fuck buddy that you normally have sex with or things of that nature, then I think it's wise, because syphilis is still going around, gonorrhea is still going around, chlamydia is still going around. I could see it in my head, but I didn't know. I was like, am I pronouncing that right? So yes, chlamydia, CH. Yeah.
You are.
But one thing about the sex being our superpower is, does that make us the gay Justice Leagues or the gay Avengers? Who are, like, is that what we are now? Because I feel like we are the superheroes of the gay superpowers, right?
I think so. I mean,
sure.
It's a really, you know what? Yes, I think in so many ways. I mean, the rise of superpower movies and more gay characters in and the rise of portrayals of gay sex in TV, when we haven't had any examples of it for so many years. The whole HIV epidemic that many of us have witnessed, and even if you weren't in it at the time, just getting tested. We've talked a lot about that on this show, this fear that we lived in, where we didn't enjoy our sex, the shame that we had. And so I just think there is something to be said. I really want to get this book, maybe have these authors on the show. I think they would be really, while we do, like, I agree with everybody, want to be vigilant. And like, I had Dr. Goldstein on the show the other day, and he's really reminding us, if you are going to have more anal sex and you are going to be taking larger objects and dicks up your ass, then you want to then also, he can create a routine for you, and you can have it checked out more often than not when you are more sexual. And so he wants to make sex work for you and be the doctor that helps you. Maybe you just need to have more checkups and pap smears and things of that nature, so that you can enjoy it and be prideful about it, not shameful. So it's a kind of a new era. I'm really excited about this book.
Me too.
Okay, well, keeping with the sex stories, and I really love this next one. There's this, they're calling a degrading sex act, apparently, in the air quotes on that might actually be enjoyed by people with a higher self-esteem. And we're talking about facials, cum facials. It's often dubbed as the money shot. And there's a Dr. Megan Mass who revealed on a recent podcast that a study found that men who performed facials had higher sexual self-esteem, regardless of sexuality, and women who received facials, and although this study didn't poll gay men, we can assume gay men would be in this category, also had higher sexual self-esteem as well. The hypothesis is that being sexually self-confident makes you more likely to explore or eroticize activities that were typically considered degrading, because you can do so without it affecting your self-worth. So in other words, you're confident enough to put yourself in a position of vulnerability. I really like this because I have often enjoyed being slapped, and I'll often take a guy's hand and direct it to my face and almost motion him like, yeah, slap my face kind of thing. But I'm directing him to do it to me of something that would normally be thought of as a self, what they're talking about in this study, but I'm turning around for something that is positive to me. Do you relate to any of this, Lincoln, or with you and Peter, on how you explore sex with each other and what this story is
I
talking
am
about?
not. I am not a facial person. I never
No.
have been. That's like group activity that I would do to somebody else. As you guys know, I don't like lube, so I'm more of a dry sex person. So having a facial is
Wow.
not interesting to me. I like it drier. However, choking and slapping and that kind of expression is good. You just
Mm.
have to know what you're doing because you could really hurt someone. So if you choke someone, don't hit the Adam's apple. And if you slap someone, know what your limits are.
Yeah, right. Because
Right?
when I direct somebody to, I have to also be careful, like kind of the level of pain that I want to experience. I also like water sports with certain people, and I often want to make sure that they've drinking a lot of water or beer. It makes for good water sports. And so I think,
Hmm.
but you also need to be comfortable with, that level of where you're going with it too. But I find it very freeing, and I'm taking control, and I do have higher self-esteem right now with my sex positivity than I did when I was younger. And I would never think to do any of these acts, much less talk about these acts. So I've had to definitely shift. Kodi, what are your thoughts when you hear about giving facials and higher self-esteem or receiving facials?
I think that when you explore, then all of these self-esteem kind of comes to you, I feel like, because when you explore
Comes to you?
sexually, pun intended, pun not intended, but it's fun, right? But I think
Yes.
that so exploring earlier in my sexual journey, I, have done plenty of things. Getting slapped in the face with a penis. Yeah, I think even sucking a dick is can be borderline degrading on depending on the circumstances, really. But I feel like the more that I've explored, the more my sexual self-confidence was boosted, and then that makes my it positively affects the self-confidence that I portray to the world. So I think that it makes a lot of sense to me. I personally really enjoy water sports. I really enjoy getting spit on and spitting on people. So I think that
Yeah,
in gay culture, a lot of these things that can be deemed degrading, they really are part of what we do normally. So yeah.
I like that. I like that
Yeah,
a
me
lot.
too.
Hey guys, Stevie here of TAGSPodcast, and you probably heard me talk a few times about going to the naked beach last summer. Looking forward to this summer. Well, the first time I went last summer, I was trying to clean up since I was going to be exposing all of my body, and one of the things I wanted to do was trim my hairy bush on my balls, and I used disposable razors. Big mistake, as I was in a hurry. You got to get the ferry early in the morning, and I was quickly trying to shave my balls with this disposable razor and nicked and cut up my balls. Oh my gosh, I wanted to be an exhibitionist, but I was too busy covering up my balls in fear that you were going to see all the nicks and cuts. Not sexy. Not a good idea. And that's why I'm really happy to tell you about the Performance Package 4.0, which has arrived by Manscaped, and it is a game changer. In this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserve ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. I love this travel bag. I use it everywhere I go. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say the greatest ball trimmer ever. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade, so it reduces grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof, and it also has a 4000K LED spotlight. You need a more precise shave.
Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. You thought that was good, but want to take your groomer game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0. The Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TAGSPOD. That's TAGSPOD. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code TAGSPOD at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
And staying on the same kind of category, there's a really good interview with Lukas Gage. And you might know Lukas from The White Lotus Season 1. Murray Bartlett ate his ass on camera, and that was their idea. I'm not sure if you guys watched Season 1 of it, but it was really caused a whole stir. And what was really cool about that scene was the scene didn't call for that. And Murray said, walking in on that would be really good for TV, and it would be really, really realistic for the character that Murray played. Lukas was just asked, because he's in a new show, Season 4 of You on Netflix, which I've watched a couple of the seasons, and I really now want to watch Season 4, which is out now. And he's on that show, and he has more sexual fetishes that he's showing on screen. He wrote, really good writing and fully formed characters means there's sexuality and their sex life are a part of that. I think we're entering an era of just truthful storytelling and authenticity, so I'm okay with that. And he said that what they really don't want to do on this show is shame anybody or kink shame anybody, and they really want to produce a sex positive attitude. We're never making fun of anyone's kinks, he said, or anything. It's a part of him. I think there are underlying reasons for everyone's likes and kinks. And I definitely can think of different kinks that I had in the past, or the kinks that I have now. One of them is feet. And Kodi, we have an after show that we recorded about that in particular, if you remember, coming out soon on our Patreon page. But if I was to look at that one particular kink that I had, like, where did that stem from or come from? And it took me a while to kind of get over it and not have shame over it. And now I'm over it, and I tell everybody, and it's made for a lot of fun in the bedroom. But I think it was like when I was a kid, I just was staring at guys' feet or something, and that there was something about that I don't know, I turned me on. But if you had to think of any kinks you have, Lincoln, or where they may have come from, could you think of where they stemmed from?
I think childhood, or seeing things throughout my life that I've always tried, or seen other people do things that then I go forward and have tried. I don't know really where I would think that that's where they came from, but I do also have a really extensive fantasy mind and a creative mind. So sometimes it's what I'm inspired by the person in front of me and what energy they're bringing to the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And also whatever, like if it's something like a nightclub or a back room or a specific get together of a certain type of people, then I see that's that certain fetishes happen within that circle. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go to a water sports party, then you learn things that maybe you'd never seen before, and then you try them. Or depending. Like I know there's which I was never into this, a massage party where people massage and rub each other, and it's not so much sexual as it is rubbing down people. And not really my gig, but I see the attraction to it.
And what's really cool about what you're saying too is so many of us get addicted or watch porn. And so you could watch a lot of these things, but there's nothing like what you're talking about is going to actual parties and experiencing it or seeing it in front of you that
Yeah.
makes it more real than on your screen. And I think that's when you're more likely to want to try things. I can think of with water sports in particular, it's like, why would I have that fetish? And if I was to look back, but it does go back to the last story we were talking about control. And I've always had, like, when I was a gymnast, I was always the youngest gymnast in the team for years and years and years. I was always the youngest, surrounded by older gymnasts. And, we wore gymnastic clothes with, pecs and body parts showing. And I think I had a thing for age and my elders that controlled me or coached me. And I developed a kind of a fetish for that kind of control environment. And I realized I could turn it into a fetish that is safe and with limits in it. And I can really enjoy that. I mean, do you have any relation to what this actor's talking about, Kodi?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that the main thing that I can point out is my underwear fetish, because when I was younger,
Oh.
I would walk down the underwear aisle in Dillard's, in
That's so great.
TJ Maxx, Burlington Coat Factory, wherever my mom was taking me shopping, and I would fantasize about the men on the boxes of the underwear. And I can see now that has kind of formulated how I express my underwear fetish right now. Because if you think about it, that was one of the only ways that I could express my growing sexuality and my attraction to men back in the day when I was a younger kid. So now it's another form for me to express it now. So,
Did
that
you
just
ever
gave me
get the
chills.
International Mail
Oh
catalog?
my God,
Yes, I
yes.
did.
So good.
Everything. So there you go.
And even, I mean, a lot of people talk about this J.C. Penney's before that, which predated it. I just think going back to 2 stories ago, the whole thing about shame, that many of us came in, we didn't have a lot of education at all, or it was definitely wrong to have any. So we looked for little secret peekaboo holes to find these fetishes. So I bet a lot of
Yeah.
gay men have more fetishes maybe than our straight counterparts, because we always had to like look for this stuff and secretly enjoy it in our own minds and fear that nobody would ever find out about it. So I bet, if they did a study, more gay men have more fetishes, and there's a reason why. So
Yeah, it's wild how the mind can form and how your sexual fantasies can form when you're younger. It's just so nice to explore.
it really
Yeah.
is. Yes, absolutely. At whatever age, Don Lemon. And lastly, I just wanted to end on this story. There's a wooden object found in northern England, believed to be one of the world's first dildos. And it's actually, this misidentification was the result of the tool being found alongside dozens of shoes and dress accessories and other small tools and craft waste products, according to news release. However, researchers have reinterpreted the artifact as a disembodied phallus by examining it closely. They've outlined some of its most likely possible functions. The carved object, which is 160 millimeters, 6.3 inches, so above the average that we were talking about earlier.
Back in the
And
day, they were
It's
doing
hilarious.
it could have been used as a sexual tool, not necessarily for penetration, but more likely for clitoral stimulation, although I would argue against that. If the archaeological find is indeed a sex toy, it represents the only known example of a non-miniaturized wooden phallus from Roman times, according to the study.
Wow.
Interesting. And they know, when they studied it a little bit more, I was reading the story, that the parts of this wooden phallus object were the tip and the end that seemed to have more worn objects. So, in and out, in and out. And the oils of the body could have made the tip of it a little bit more worn out. But I just think, like, wood That better be shaved down. Who wants splinters up in your private
I was
areas?
just gonna say that.
Were you? Yeah.
I think it was varnished or something. I hope, right?
Yeah, I'll put the picture up on TAGSPodcast.
Hello.
It looks very sanded and polished and ready for use, and I'm glad that it's above the average that is the national average. So kudos to our forefathers and getting it on. I'm all for that. All right, you guys, so much fun. Always great catching up. Yeah.
I did want to say just one quick thing to end the show.
Absolutely.
Do you mind? So today I had a really good experience that I've been waiting to do for a very long time. I went and donated blood.
Oh,
and as we talked about on this show before, right, we could not donate blood, and I read in the news that we can now donate blood. So I went down to 14th Street, the McBurney Y here in New York, and I filled out the online questionnaire. And I will say, if you are on PrEP, I don't know if you can. So that I'm not on PrEP. So I was able to hit no and move on.
And you're in a monogamous
that's there. And I'm also in a 4-year monogamous relationship, and we're both HIV negative. And there were questions about, do you have unprotected sex with people for money? Have you shared needles? Have you know all the questions that aren't necessarily gay or straight? They're just questions. But I went. You could save up to 3 lives by donating blood. I did learn that if you do the full panel, it's not quite as beneficiary as if you do the double red cell option, where they separate your red cells from the rest of your blood. It takes a little longer if you do it that way. I look forward to doing that way the next time. And I believe that they remove the red blood cells and then give you back some.
Oh, wow.
And make sure blood's strong, which I thought was fascinating.
That's cool.
I'm also O negative, which is the best blood to have as far as most. Yeah, well, I knew it, but in going in, I was like, I'm O negative, and they're like, oh, we're excited about that, because it's a universal blood type. So it just from beginning, middle, and end. And part of the reason I did it is my father has always had a high hemoglobin level, and he's always said to me, it's genetic. My grandfather had that too. So it's not that bad, but he always said, if you just donate blood every 8 weeks, it keeps it in control, less likely to have a stroke, and you feel healthier. And I already feel lighter. I feel more clear-headed. It might be my own perception, but it just felt, you know what it felt like? And the reason I wanted to bring it up, we talked about gay sex. We talked about being gay. Do you remember when gay marriage passed in New York?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you guys have this feeling, but I just felt this feeling like I got something that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
Like I felt more human. I felt more like a citizen.
More right.
Yeah.
I felt, and if I'm not going to go stand in line right now at a soup kitchen and help people less fortunate than me, but if I can go drop off a pint of blood every 8 weeks because I'm a human being, it just made me feel more human. So I wanted to share it, especially since it happened today.
No,
it's so lovely.
And it's I'm so glad you did that. You did a great thing, and thanks for sharing with our audience too. Because we just reported on the new ways you can, and you're right about the PrEP because we talked about that. Kodi, I think you remember that.
Yeah.
Right.
But great things to consider. Absolutely, you're saving lives. Excellent. So. And I want to thank everyone for listening, celebrating 6 years. You can follow Lincoln at his Protein Bakery on 19th Street in Chelsea. Follow it at Protein Bakery on Instagram. Also, follow him on his personal account at Mad Lincoln. Follow Kodi. He's a life coach at KMD Coaching, or also his personal account at Mr. Maurice. And Kodi's joining me this Wednesday for Tags Live. I'm going from Fort Lauderdale to Puerto Vallarta to do the show over there. Lots of fun. I'm on tour for some reason. Anyways, I'm looking forward to that. You can follow the show at TAGSPodcast or at @Iam_Steve V for some pics from my cruise. You will see on there. Lots of fun. And in the meantime, guys, continue having hot gay
sex.
Yes.
We're also